This starts with an epigram. When only the closest listen and persevere. The New World. It was a Grand Marnier in Quaalude summer. A sweat and a snow job on a new season. I sat in front of my dresser counting mood elevators. 1, 2, 3, 4. The sun rose. Outside, the streets were clear and hot with foreigners, and I told the gods I wanted to go back to heaven, but I added that I wanted to stay on earth too. Sometimes you didn't know what to do. Things would work out if they were in the cards. Cards were stored in a cabinet, in a basement, near an old mine. People lived day by day. Luck and inconsistency reared their granite heads. Many people who thought they were free were actually clutching on their mainsprings. One of them could have been me. I was old, but just a child. Young, but just an old man. Living in the New World could give you the impression that everything was out of hand. Like the morning I first met No Love at All. I was living on a route and I caught her by accident in the hallway. "Do you live here?" she asked. She had the look of a young hawk and the legs of a gladiator goddess. "Yeah, I do." "Well, here's your mail." And she handed over a small stack of rejection slips and intimate letters. I asked her for her phone number and she complied. It was innocence pulling out its sweet, dull knife. "Well," she said, "I gotta go. I'm on a schedule, you know." "We're all on schedules, honey," I said. And she told me never to call her honey again. Then she winked at me, and I felt blessed. I watched No Love at All ascend the stairs to the next mailbox. Then I raced ahead to the corner and waited for Mr. Rick to pick me up in his VW bus. Mr. Rick and I were friends who attended blue-collar college together. After graduation, he worked in the blues mines, a dark night-to-night descent into the musical heart of human frailty, genius, and TB pain. He served the beat and toasted the rust of whiskey and speed, followed by early morning dialogues in rich, empty streets. "Who's she?" he said, referring to No Love at All as he popped the button and I got in the shotgun side. "I'm not sure yet," I replied, "but we'd better go to the poet's house. It might help me decide if I should call her or not." "Man, it's weird over there. That poet scene makes me uncomfortable," Mr. Rick said. "Hey, it's free white magic," I replied. "It's too early for white magic, even for free." We headed around the block to see if we could get another glimpse of my mail lady. In the distance, there was no wind, no jobs, no color. The New World was building up. The New World was tumbling down. We stick-shifted through blocks of city streets with businessmen, union guys, and gangbangers littering the way. We saluted them all with a bottom line of homeless love, hoping someday healing and peace would rub off on everyone. We spent that morning inside the poet's house, sitting in his dining room, gawking at the ping-pong balls he had taped on the wall next to the picture of Chairman Mao. "I was a wise guy in high school," Mr. Rick told him. "I took classes at Country Club High and made the honor roll and hanging out." The poet just looked at him and took a hit off his Camel. His wife did the same. He told us if we ever wanted to get anywhere, we should start with our brains and work our way up. Then we sat stunned in front of his TV, watching a Western called Warlock. When the movie star began burning down the town, he asked everybody on the screen, "What are you worth?" Mr. Rick and I gazed at one another, wondering if the movie star was talking to us as well. The poet saw how we were affected and began giving us a white magic lesson. The poet told us there were only two things in life worth knowing, the inside and the outside. He said the inside was everyone and everything that marched along in your head, while the outside was everyone and everything who tried to get in it. He added that the thing with outsiders and insiders was that most of them didn't know that the self was everything and nothing, and that in the long run, nothing mattered. When the poet finished, the poet and his wife left us in their dining room alone, and we began to feel isolated and uncomfortable. We stayed for a while, then realized they weren't coming back, so we walked out into the city streets with an eerie feeling. There was a subtle quiet inside, the kind of quiet that might let you know that the new world could be fine. Some insiders knew this as fact, just as some outsiders knew this as fiction. Imbalance balanced. My instincts told me spirits were loading up on bodies. Bodies were loading up on flesh. The rich and the poor had problems of their own. Mr. Rick and I lived on, hoping not to fail. The new world sinks. The new world sails. A decade passed. "Whatever happened to no love at all?" Mr. Rick asked. She emptied me. Then she left me, and I had to fill myself up again. It sounds easy on paper, but it's hard to do in real life. And true love? We became a lost paragraph in a novel that doesn't end, I said. Another decade passed. The years were changing everything and everyone. It was the pro-family era, followed by the pro-divorce era, followed by the pro-left era, followed by the pro-right era, and the green grass grew all around, and the green grass grew all around. I was outside and picked up a rock, pretending it was a pen. Then I wrote a poem on the sidewalk in front of the health food store. The sewers are city waterfalls in the summer rain. Once I come with real love, I'll never come again. Too bad, Mr. Rick said. I told him I thought I was going to wind up an angel, but instead I was just another guy with an angle. A chic lady playing heavy metal passed us, wearing a silk blouse with a flamingo and Borneo printed on the back. "No sex, no drugs, no rock and roll," I shouted at her. The pure denial brought tears streaming down my chin, but she didn't pay attention as Mr. Rick and I drifted into the last exit for some café au lait. When the beans kicked in, Mr. Rick and I shook, laughing like marionettes stoned on methanol. As we left the last exit, we agreed to write our guts out. We were recreating the old math of the living and the dead, like the fool who hides in all of us, praying to raise his weary head. Marching along the laps of Lake Michigan, we ran out of decades, realizing the only way we could really learn anything was through hard work and real action. "Hey, Rick, where are you going to settle when you succeed?" I asked. "Somewhere soft, near the end of the world." "And when will the world end?" "When we want it to," he said. We were caught in hang time, a long moment on the earthly sphere. It felt like being with true love, who knew me so well she could kill me at a moment's whim. One day I told her, "Do it." She said she couldn't, but was the only one who can. And that's when my old world ended and the new world began.